I've been using this quiver for quite some time, and it's about time I do a proper review on the channel of the Push Alpha Pack. Huge thanks to Matt over at the Push for sending me this Alpha Pack. I actually have a couple of them on hand, as well as a few other things from the Push, and I'm going to show you what they're all about here on the channel today. And I'm going to show you why this is my favorite quiver of all time. One of the very first hip quivers I ever got was a Vista canvas style quiver, and it was great, but it lacked a lot of features and a lot of storage, and actually lacked a lot of structure. And then I got into some other more structured hip quivers that were made out of leather, like the ones behind me that I used at the Olympic Games, as well as some of the other, styles. I personally like this field quiver where the arrows come out behind me. I don't like the hip quiver where the arrows point forward. It's just a little cumbersome. They get in the way, and definitely not ideal for going out in the woods and shooting field archery or anything like that. Now I'm going to get into more about the pack here in a second, but I just want to let you know, just like I always do on the channel, full disclosure, Matt over at the Push sent me this quiver along with a couple of other quivers that I've got behind me that I'll show you for the purpose of a review on the channel. I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to make sure I'm brutally honest because I don't have any sponsors on the channel. I'm very proud to say that because then I don't have to be biased in any way, shape, or form. Basically, my deal is when somebody sends me equipment is that I will, no matter what, be honest. They will see the review just like you will at the same exact time on the channel. They're not going to see it early. And also, if there is any issue, I am going to contact them first in case there's maybe some sort of manufacturer's defect or maybe I'm using it wrong, just to make sure. But other than that, unless it's a serious issue, I'm not going to ask them about any sort of issues until after I've uploaded and posted the video publicly. So, with that being said, I love this quiver. It's my favorite quiver by far because of the amount of stuff that I can fit in it and how nice and neat everything is kept as well. Basically, I can stuff tons and tons of arrows into the quiver. In its stock configuration, there's just a snap in the middle that has two different components, two different spots where you can stack arrows inside the quiver. I'm going to get rid of the arrows, and I'm just going to show you this quick little clip here that I filmed just before this video, showing you how much stuff I have in the quiver, how versatile it is, and how I can shoot all sorts of different styles of archery with one quiver and not have to store all sorts of different things in 3 different quivers. So I've really enjoyed using the Push Archery Alpha Pack. It's definitely my favorite quiver by a long shot, just because of the sheer volume of the amount of stuff that I can store in it, the quality materials that it's made out of. It's made in the USA, and it's supporting another American-made company. So I really enjoy this quiver itself. Now, if you're interested in one of these Alpha Packs, I will have links in the description below, and if you use code Kaminski at checkout, you'll get 10% off of your order from anything at the Push. So that was just a fun little thing that I did where I shot 15 yards with my trad bow, shot 3 arrows, went back to 50 meters, shot my bare bow, and then went back to 70 meters and shot 3 more arrows with my recurve. Wish they were all 10s, but I didn't want to stay out there all day long with all the mosquitoes, the heat, and just wear myself out trying to shoot all 10s all day long, but it was a lot of fun. So basically, I'm going to unload the quiver and show you all the different things that I've got there's not a space for the actual bow square. I just stick it in the back pocket in the back and just kind of angle it out the back because I always need a bow square handy, especially to check brace height and things like that. Also, within the quiver itself, there's one major large pocket that I kind of use as almost like a release pouch. No longer do I have to have a release pouch in addition to my quiver. You know, usually I use a release pouch for my tabs and for things like a rosin powder bag and things like that. But, you know, I've got my rosin powder bag in the bottom, got my bare bow tab, got my glove for trad shooting, got my Olympic recurve finger tab, got my arm guard and finger sling, and that's about it in the main pocket. I've got all sorts of other little things in the bottom that I've accumulated over the past bit of time between some broken nocks and some extra screws here that I've just kind of tossed in the bottom during shooting. But inside of here, you can open it wide open if you choose to do so with these two little straps that'll allow it to swing out of the way. Zip it up so things don't get dumped out of here. Yeah, as you can see, there's some extra broken nocks, but there's two nice pouches here that you can slide stuff like pens and a file for my tab sear, grip sear, something like that. It's a fingernail file made out of glass. And then I got a pen as well in there. And then also on this side, this is kind of where I keep all of my tools that I'm accessing. So usually I leave it unzipped so I can easily access it, but it acts as a separate pouch. So I can have my two Allen wrench sets, metric and standard, my biter plunger Allen wrench to easily access that adjustment there, and a whole lot of extra Allen keys in various sizes, metric and standard, just so I can have standalone wrenches if I need them. And I usually also have in that pocket a bunch of stabilizer weights, like a bunch of extra 1 ounce stabilizer weights, extra screws, and extra stacks of weights when I'm making adjustments on my stabilizers. And overall, I just pile a whole bunch of stuff in this quiver to keep it stocked full of stuff so I don't have to constantly run back in here when I'm making adjustments out there on the range. Something that I really enjoy doing is just keeping everything in one place, at least some stuff that is some handy tools that I need access to all the time. And then once I connect these straps back up, I just leave the quiver just like this, unzipped, and then I just reach in just like it is a release pouch, and I have access to all of my stuff. So I can put everything back in there and have access to it anytime I want, and I don't even have to think about it when I grab my quiver off the shelf, off the wall, and just whatever bow I'm wanting to shoot, everything's already in there. Some mole straps on the front that you can attach, who knows what, some clips, carabiners, things like that to hang maybe an arrow puller, unless you want to stuff it inside, that's probably where I'd keep it. I've been shooting on the Reinhardt bale, so I haven't had to use an arrow puller in forever. There's an extra little spot here in between this pouch and the inner pouch, or the inner, quiver itself for, any sort of extra storage. This, technically, this section here is actually a rangefinder pouch. I actually have just a notepad here with some basic notes that I've written down over the time, but it actually is designed to perfectly hold your rangefinder because they're all about the same size. Fits in there really nicely, and it keeps it all together in one piece. Also at the top of the quiver, there's an extra zipper pouch area, and I've actually stored plungers and things like that in there when traveling, throwing my gear in either my car or in my bow case. I'll just throw the plunger in there just to keep it nice and safe. And then there's also a strap that allows you to strap it to your leg to keep the quiver from flopping around if you choose to do that. For me, I'd rather it not be there. I probably will just end up cutting this strap off eventually. I don't really need it, don't really use it at all. And then there's some additional elastic stuff to hang potentially some other things off the bottom of the quiver, or to keep things like a rain jacket or something like that strapped to the quiver to keep it while you're walking around the woods, and you don't even have to think about holding on to things. So the reason that I really like this, like I said, it's got a lot going for it. There's a lot of different pouches, a lot of different storage areas, but it's just basic. It's soft and it's flexible, but I can just take my quiver and just roll it up into a ball and throw it into my case like this, and no matter how long it sits like this, it's going to basically come back in full shape without any sort of issues. Now, something that you can get from the Push is their Bombproof Belt. I'm using the belt that this thing came with. For me, it's got a whole lot of extra strap that I'm going to cut off at one point in time, some point in the future. It's just a nice standard buckle. The reason I really like this is because, again, it's flexible, right? I'm not a very large human, and sometimes when you get into their Bombproof Belt, it's a little stiff. I'm sure over time it would break in, and I'm going to use it and see how it goes over time. But for me, when I put it on, it wants to just go back to its original shape, and it's not sitting on me nice. Maybe if I got it wet and, you know, put it around a chair or something, it would take a bit of a set, and it would stay the way I would like it. I just haven't put this on the actual quiver itself yet. However, it seems that you could probably tow a Mack truck with this thing because it's pretty heavy duty. It's just a simple elastic adjustment, and you order them in a range of sizes depending on how big you are. And like I said, it's just kind of staying too much in shape, so it just is kind of awkward on my body. I think once it broke in, it would probably be great. And maybe if I just, you know, take it like a hat and you just kind of work it and you do what you want with it, it'll eventually take its shape how you would actually like it. I just haven't spent the time with it. I don't really shoot all that much. I don't have all that much time to shoot, so when I got something that works really well, the quiver by itself with the belt that it came with a long time ago when I first got it, that's just typically what I like to run. It does come in a few different colors. This is like a greenish, there's a brown, and then there's a black, and Heather actually uses the black quiver. And then there's also some other things you can add to it in addition to the Bombproof Belt. There's this little divider here that's really nice. It's 3D printed. It's got, I don't know what the base material is. It's rigid, but then the top is probably TPU, it looks like, so it's rubberized, and it's a soft material. And what you do is you undo the snap. You then take this little hook and you slide it into the quiver itself. And then you kind of stuff it inside the quiver. And now you've got 4 separate compartments for your arrows here. So what this does is it allows you to have 4 different compartments to actually store your arrows, to keep them a little bit more organized in the quiver. And that TPU coating on top keeps things a little more quieter as, compared to as if it didn't have it. Now a standard leather quiver like this Easton one here typically tends to be much louder as you're walking and the arrows are flopping around back and forth in the quiver. It gets quite loud. That's why I really like these canvas style quivers. They just are so much quieter, and this Push Alpha Pack is just huge and allows me to store all sorts of stuff. It's probably a problem actually for me because, you know, over time I've gotten my quiver to be quite heavy because of all the finger tabs that I've got, as well as a ton of different weights. When I'm testing out barebow weights and testing out stabilizers, and I got all sorts of things, sometimes I forget to take them out of the quiver, and it probably ends up weighing close to 10 pounds after a short bit of time. But it's a good problem to have in my opinion, because I'd rather have something easily accessible and not have to come back inside all the time to come get some tools or some basic components that I'm playing around with. And just like the quiver itself, the Bombproof belts do come in the different colors to match the quivers themselves, so you can keep everything nice and matching. Another thing I love about it too is I use this standard bow pod for a compound. It's a cheap one for my bare bow when I'm setting it down on the ground, and in between ends when I'm shooting, it fits completely inside the quiver, nice and neat out of the way. I've seen people put them in the arrow tube holder as well, but I just throw it in the actual quiver itself. Some other cool things that they got going over there at the Push is this pocket quiver. You know, a lot of people will just stick their arrows in their back pocket or their side pocket. I do that all the time when I'm just doing some quick footage or doing some quick testing and tuning. I just throw my arrows in my back pocket because it's pretty easy to do so. But a lot of times it flops around, you'll poke holes in your pocket itself, and they've got this little pocket quiver here that actually slides in your back pocket, and then this magnetic clip here keeps it together and pinches it in the actual pocket so it stays in place. You can tuck this under your belt if you're wearing one, and because of that magnet, it's dual use, the arrows don't want to fall out. So it holds it in there. If you're using stainless points or steel points, it keeps the arrows in there nice and snug, and they all magnetically are stuck in the quiver, and it's a really nice little feature there. Similar to the other thing, there's some mullet straps, a little storage area on the outside, and then your zipper pouch on the inside. Not nearly as much storage area for all of the tools and gear that I like to use, but if you're just rocking your pockets, sometimes they fill up with some stuff, and this little thing would be nice walking out in the woods. Hey, if you like this video, consider sharing it. Genuinely, that would help this channel out. I don't operate any other social media, and I rely on you to help spread the word about the channel. Also, if you wouldn't mind, please do check out all the different links in the description below on the many different ways you can help support the channel. I produce all this content for archers around the world to enjoy for free, and I can't thank my supporters enough. Without you, I wouldn't be able to produce this content, at least not to this level. So thanks.